Assalamu alaikum and welcome to The Game Changer, the show that brings you the latest and the most inspiring individuals from up and down the UK who are changing our sports, and that's what we want to see. So today we've got a special guest on the show, and before I introduce you, let's go to a short clip which will hopefully give you a bit more of a background as to who he exactly is.
Currently, I am UEFA B licence holder, and this kind of started probably about 15 years ago.
First of all, a very good guy, out of football, very approachable, so you can approach him about anything, and very knowledgeable as well, what I found, and we build a good bonding regarding footballs and so on. So I think, and a humbling guy, so a very good person, a humbling guy with great knowledge of the game.
I met Arash, I would say, about 8 years ago. I've known him for a long time personally. Listen, he was the first person I thought about when I was given the opportunity to manage Sporting Bengal. I called him straight away. There was no way I was going to take this role without having him on board. For me, he was one of the first UEFA B qualified coaches I'd met in the UK, and he was instrumental for me to taking this job, and always was going to be a big part of it for me.
Delivery skills very good. He can build a rapport with the players, which is, I think, is very important for a coach. And in terms of his technical detail, is very crucial and very good. So excellent.
So as an individual, he's like anybody who knows him. He's very open, he's humble, he's approachable, and a lovely, lovely guy at that as well. But more importantly, he's a footballing person. There's been times in the dressing room and during a season when, you know, we've come in at half-time and teams have been all over us. And this is where Arash comes into his own. As a technical coach, he's a massive fan of Bielsa and Pep Guardiola. He's read all their books. I call him Pep. He loves that style of football. The information he relays to players at crucial times is vital to what we're about at Sporting Bengal. My strength is man management. I'm a manager. Arash's strength is coaching. He sees things on the football pitch that most people that I know possibly won't. Okay, so that was it. Welcome to the show, Arash Ali. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum as well.
Wa alaikum salam.
Good
Okay,
to be
so listen, you're someone I'm very familiar with. We've just seen a 3-minute clip of you now kind of in your environment, coaching footballers as you do. The show's all about you today. We want to learn about who you are and what your aspirations are. And we want to learn about, you know, how you see the football landscape in your world, whether it's in Milton Keynes, whether it's here in the UK, but more importantly, I'd like to learn about your experiences in Bangladesh as well, and how and what solutions you might have to improving our beloved game. All right, so let's get started. I think we've learned as to where your journey started and how you got into the coaching. But I think for the purpose of this show today, I want to know what level you played at, and then why you decided to get into coaching.
Yeah, very interesting and good question. Yeah, it's a long journey I had into football, but essentially, you know, as with any youngsters, played on the streets with, you know, friends, younger brothers in Milton Keynes, and then from that, you develop a passion. To be honest, I didn't end up playing for any local teams at the time. But eventually, you know, with the passion of football, I wanted to become a pro, even though I wasn't playing in any local leagues. So at the age of about 15, I started writing to clubs to try and get a trial or something like that. So I wrote to Luton, local clubs that were around me. At the time, MK Dons wasn't there, so Luton, Northampton. So eventually, I got a call in from Wycombe Wanderers, and I basically attended a trial there and managed to be successful in the trial. And from there, really, it really gave me the impetus to try and pursue football. And then also that started my journey on the coaching as well.
Okay. And so you stopped playing. You stopped playing quite young due to an injury, right?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that. But so what then led you to get into coaching?
So I think the fact that when I was at Wycombe, although I wasn't there for long because
How old were you?
I was 15 at the time, 15 coming on 16. I was there for long, and it's purely because I didn't have the support mechanism to travel up there, to train three times a week. So I didn't have that mechanism. But then very, very soon after, I got a cruciate ligament injury. And what transpired, basically while I was at Wycombe, in the training sessions, I really enjoyed the coaching element of it, something that hadn't happened to me before. And so I think the love of coaching started from there.
Okay. So when did you actually physically stop playing the game, and then decided, what age were you when you decided to get into and pursue your footballing coaching career?
So I didn't really stop playing. It was more, it became, basically I couldn't pursue a professional route or a route into elite level football. So what I did was I did the next best thing, which is play at semi-pro level.
Yep.
So I played at Step 5 at the time, which is Milton Keynes City.
Okay.
I played there for a few seasons, but then at the time we had a local Asian side as well. And to be honest, I ended up playing more for the local Asian side than the mainstream football. So that's where the football journey went. But from a coaching perspective, I started to coach, basically with MK Durbar, which is our local Asian side. And some of the things that I learned with MK City and also with Wycombe Wanderers, I started to try and put in place without any qualifications at the time. It's just from my own mind, and that's where the coaching started.
So tell us about your coaching journey in terms of levels, and now you're a UEFA B. Yeah. You're one of, that I can think of, you're one of 7 coaches here in the UK. The likes of Taft, the likes of Anwar, the likes of Litz, Abs. We've got Ayaz and Shojat Bhai as well. Yeah. But Ayaz and Shojat don't really use unfortunately, they're not in the scene in terms of non-league and coaching, practicing their coaching badges, which is unfortunate. But coming back to yourself, you're one of the few that has this UEFA B. Because obviously you have a family, you have which we will touch on later, you have work commitments, but the amount of time and dedication you're putting into, let's talk about non-league and how you got involved and why you're currently involved in non-league. Yeah,
so I think just taking a step back into my where I started my professional coaching journey. It started when MK Dons actually was born back in 2003, 2004. So when Wimbledon, that whole issue around Wimbledon relocated into Milton Keynes, and that's where it started. And Dons had a community program, and they reached out to MK Durbar at the time, and because I was one of the prominent members, I got involved with some of the coaches then.
Okay.
And by attending some of the sessions, again, it sort of really triggered my passion for it. So, and there's a guy called Dennis Wolford who was part of that community program. He put us on a level 1 course at the time, and it just kick-started from there.
And what year was that?
Dons joined basically I think 2003, I think it was, or 2002, something like that. And I started I did my level 1 about 2005, 2006.
So we're talking 15 years. You've with qualifications. You've been coaching now for the last 15 years.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on MK Dons. Let's talk about MK Dons and what was that experience like, and tell us the types of what age group you worked with, and the types of players you worked with.
Yeah, so with the MK Dons, I started off with the football and community program. So I worked with nursery kids up until under 16s. And one thing I did at the time was I really wanted to get into elite level football. you know, even though I couldn't make it as a player, I wanted to see if I can do it as a coach. So I went knocking on the doors of the academy manager, who was Mike Dove at the time, and just say, look, you know, I just want to come and watch. I just want to come and observe, etc. So he kind of offered me the next best thing. He said, look, come and watch and observe, but you have to commit, yeah, in terms of, because I don't want you just coming in sort of willy-nilly, but you have to commit to 3 times a week training and then match days as well.
Okay.
So as a volunteer, that's exactly what I did.
Wow.
At that time, I had my level 2. I just completed my level 2. So for about a year and a half, you know, I kind of just went there 3 times a week, volunteered, you know, picking cones, doing all the things that you would do, yeah? Going, attending games, etc., observing, writing notes, and researching myself. And then, you know, alhamdulillah, there's a guy called Dan McKeechie, who's now Arsenal, who's my mentor at the time. When he came in, he just changed everything. And he offered me a role working with like pre-academy, 7s, 8s, and also the under-9s. And that's basically where my sort of professional coaching journey started with MK Dons.
Okay, and then in terms of, I know that it's been well kind of noted, and we're all aware that the types of players, but there's one player in particular that you've had experience. We've all seen the photo.
Okay, yeah.
So tell us a bit about that. How what your role was in all that, and then, you know, the types of, where are the players that you've worked with? Any of them playing pro at the moment?
Yes, I think the player that you mentioned is Dele Alli. So he's at Tottenham Hotspur. My kind of engagement with Dele Alli was I coached him when he was about under 10s, under 11s. You know, he was one that we always knew that he would make it, to be honest, because he was very good at the time.
Well, that didn't work out, did it?
Basically, I think it's the manager more than the player.
Yeah.
But anyway, so other players that I work with are in the program. So we've got Shea Ojo, who Liverpool bought,
Yeah.
you know, quite a few years ago when he was an under 14 for
Wow.
about 2 million, and then obviously his journey kind of stalemated a little bit, but he went to Rangers with Stevie Gerrard, and then recently actually there's about 6 or 7 players that I actually, you know, work with, and are from the under 7s, under 8s up until under 14s, under 15s, now playing in the first
team at MK.
Yeah, and MK. So there's about 5 players there who've been who signed pro.
Who've gone up.
Yeah, who've gone up. John Freeman, Jay Bird. You know, they're players that you see. Sam Nombe as well.
Excellent.
That you see in the first team.
All right. Okay. So now we move on. You're at MK. You're at the back end of the MK. We're talking 2015, 2016, and then you then decide to go into non-league.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that, and how does non-league differ to your professional environment?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of reasons. One personal reason, and then obviously the other was more kind of development reasons. Yeah, for, personally as a coach, I'd had the journey of pro football. I've had that journey of development football as well. So you know, it's more about not about winning, let's say per se. It's more about the individuals and developing individuals. What I had an experience in a competitive level is working with tactically, yeah, with teams with different tactics, different formations. You know, changing games, you know, during the game. So that's something that was in a way missing. Even though we did it to a certain extent at MK Dons, we weren't playing for 3 points, and that's the crux of it.
Yeah.
So that was something that I needed to get, you know, in my development as a first thing. But from a personal reason as well, as you mentioned earlier, I'm working full time, and you know, I've got a small family as well, as you know. So there had to be a balance, and I was finding myself away from my family a lot, especially with, you know, working and the time that I was spending with the Dons and my full-time job. So the 2 things had to give. But yeah, and then I made a decision, like, look, in order to pursue further development for myself, I need to get into more kind of non-league competitive football in order to develop further as a coach.
Okay, and then obviously from my own perspective, for me to get you involved at Sporting Bengal, which is the biggest Bangladeshi-run football club here in the UK, playing at the highest level at Step 5, FA Cup, FA Vase. You came on board as the first team coach, and that was, for me, that was vital. It was a no-brainer. It's not a journey I probably would have taken without you. How's that journey been at Sporting? And tell us a bit of, I guess, how you see what Sporting's about, and in terms of the players, the pool of players that we have, focusing on the Asian talent.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're at?
Yeah, so I think again, just stepping back here. So when you came knocking, I think it was at the right time, because I was thinking along those lines, and Sporting given that platform at a high level, but also it was run by Bangladeshis. Yeah, and that was what the attraction was there for me, because it's something that I passionately believe in, that we need to, as Asians, as Bangladeshis, trying to pursue, trying to get to the highest level possible. So that was one of the reasons for my commitment to Sporting. I think with regards to my, so far, what I've seen with Sporting is, one thing that Sporting does provide is the opportunity, for Asians or BAME players to play at a very high level, and that is something that I know you as a coach are very passionate about, and myself as well. To look at developing players. We've seen a whole number of players come through, and recently, we've got 4 players. So likes of Raul, likes of Tanvir, likes of Rox, Rokib, and also Mehdi as well, who's just come back from Norway. And to see those players, they've actually possessed very good qualities in terms of the technical abilities, in terms of football abilities, but they've got a very good platform with Sporting to try and push themselves further. So, for example, we had Ashan Sadiq, who was with us for about 4 years, and then he moved on to Stansted. But behind the scenes, you were instrumental in pushing him to get a trial with a pro club in Bangladesh, which I believe was successful. But for various reasons, obviously that didn't materialise. So that just shows you kind of examples, and I think we're looking at Mehdi to be going over there very soon as well. So this just shows that, look, with Sporting, it's an Asian-run club. The opportunities are there. We've got some very good management team in the background, with regards to supporting and developing players, and to try and push them on to something better, at a higher level.
It's good to know that we have a pool of players that are actually playing at non-league level, particularly Step 5. And yes, like I said, you've touched on it. For me, it's vital as Bangladeshi and Asian coaches and managers here in the UK. If we do not give these kids the platform and the opportunity from our communities to express themselves and show their talent, no one is. So I think there is an element of positive discrimination here that we have to have, and we should do, rightly so. But what's your take in terms of the pool of talent we have, not just here in London, but outside? You're from Milton Keynes. You've obviously been around, and with your coaching with MK, and also you've got friends who are up and down the UK. Is the talent there in the UK for us to say and remain positive that over the next 5 to 10 years we will start seeing more and more, forget the pro game for now, more and more players playing non-league football, and hope with the view hopefully getting the opportunity in academies and then pro clubs? Yeah,
listen, I think one thing that's been very pleasing and very satisfying to see is the likes of structures and clubs here run by Asian or let's say Bangladeshi community. So we've got Sporting here, we've got MK Galacticos and Milton Keynes, which is I'm very close to because I work with them as well. The likes of Alom and Jakir in Milton Keynes and Kamal is a very good friend of mine. What they've done with that club, from taking it from where it was about 5-6 years ago to where it is now, and they're playing in mainstream football as well, with a whole academy behind them. Rising Stars in Birmingham.
Good shout,
very, very successful what they've achieved there.
London Tigers.
Yep, you got London Tigers. And then you got in Bradford, your neck of the woods with Bangla Bantams. Okay, they're working in the fan side of things, but I know there's some coaching stuff that's going on there.
And I think from a UK Bangladeshi perspective, it's encouraging because we also have the boys down in Cardiff, Jalal and the Bengal Dragon guys, who are working tirelessly in the background, trying to again revive the footballing Bangladeshi community in Cardiff and Wales. So like you said, you've got Bangla Bantams, you've got MK Galacticos, you've got Rising Stars, and then you have also London Tigers. But in terms of the number of teams that are playing non-league at the moment here in the UK that are managed and run by Bangladeshi backroom staff and committees, you have MK Galactico playing Step 7, you've got London Tigers playing Step 6, and we, as Sporting Bengal, obviously is the highest run club in the UK playing Step 5. So in terms of solutions, in terms of opportunities? We'll come to talk about your experiences of Bangladesh. You went out to Bangladesh with the MK Galactico guys 2 years ago. But you've been out there now and also, are our players, should they be aspiring, if they're playing non-league, to maybe go and represent Bangladesh at some level, or even go and play pro if there's an opportunity there?
Yeah, definitely. I think we haven't touched upon sort of player development and what they need to achieve. But I think essentially it comes down to the individuals themselves. Yeah. So there should be no gripes or no kind of issues around, are there any opportunities? Back in my days, I mentioned the Wycombe Wanderers. I'm supposing you're similar as well. The opportunities were limited. Yeah. But you've got a plethora of clubs. Yeah. Not just local clubs, but also pro clubs. So for me, a player perspective, yeah, the opportunities are there. And they need to now grasp that. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Second thing is once they grasp it, yeah, the support mechanism is there for them as well. Yeah. So you've got, likes of yourselves, our backroom staff at Sporting, backroom staff at MK Galacticos, Asian run. So we know, and we know what we need to do to try and get them to high levels. Yeah. So that's the other thing. The support mechanism is there. The third thing that is required, and the main ingredient, is the players themselves. Yeah. They have to want it. Yeah.
So what makes, if you could set a recipe for the ideal in terms of what is required to become as close to an elite footballer, what if there was let's say five major tips that you could give to an aspiring footballer? What would that be? What would they need to have? What are the ingredients?
Yeah. So one thing I've noticed basically back in my MK Dons days, yeah. So the players that I've made pro, yeah, what I've seen and what I've worked with them as well is one thing, they have the hunger. I'm going to leave aside talent for now, yeah, but these things have to be definitely in the play. So they have to have the hunger for the game. They have to have the right attitude. And what I mean by attitude is, turning up every session, yeah.
On time.
On time. When they attend, yeah, the attentive listening, they themselves questioning, yeah, asking those questions. And the players that I've seen that made it on the MK Dons, they were always like that. Yeah, they're always like that. So they have the attitude, the work ethic. So, you probably heard me shouting in training sessions, yeah, don't cut corners. Yeah, make sure you go around the cone. Yeah, that type of mindset. Yeah, in terms of
smaller details.
Yeah, smaller details. When I come, I'm going to work hard. Yeah, I'm not going to cut corners. I'm not going to laze about. That type of thing. So that has got to be there. Yeah, and then the other thing is what I call resilience in a player.
100%.
So there'll be setbacks. Yeah, there'll be times where you're not going to perform. There'll be personal things that might affect you. So what you've got to do is bounce back from that as an individual. And the players that I've seen made it, so likes of Dele Alli, for example, yeah. If you looked at his background, yeah, it's not, it's very, let's say, it's not great, yeah, his background. However, in adversity, look at what he's achieved, and that because there's that resilience in him that he's able to brush that aside and just focus on something. So they're the four things that a player needs, yeah. And the fifth thing is obviously the talent.
Yeah.
And with that talent, it's not just about, listen, I can dribble past 6 players or I could pass 50, 60 yards, yeah? Yeah. You've got to continually work at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, practice. So they're the 5 things I would say is essential for an elite player.
Okay. And again, is how important is non-league in developing them attributes in a footballer? And if we just take the attention away from academy for now and just look at the relevance and the importance, because more and more players now in the UK are being discovered at a non-league level. Do you think our own kids are missing an opportunity by not, when you've got clubs like Sporting Bengal, MK Galacticos, Rising Stars, all playing at a good in the mainstream football, are they missing a trick by not getting involved?
Definitely. There's a big trick they're missing. I mean, look at the exposure that we get in FA Cup, FA Vars games, yeah, and also playing at a really high level. I think with the players, I think there's a mindset at the moment. Yeah, it's like, look, I just want to play my mates on Sundays and that's it. And again, that just goes down to one of the things I mentioned. Yeah, what's the individual hunger, yeah, to play at a high level? Is that there? If it's not there, then that's obviously they'll just play Sunday league football, yeah. But if it's there, then the likes of what we have in Sporting, the 4 players that we mentioned, yeah, those players, because the hunger's there, they want to play high level. That's where they're attending. So my kind of advice to players that want to achieve or play at high level is come to these clubs. The London Tigers, the Galacticos, and MK, obviously Sporting Bengal, and come in and have the right mindset, and you've got the platform there to push yourself to a kind of a high level, definitely.
Okay, so now, the clubs are there. You've mentioned 3 clubs playing at step 7, 6, and 5. How many Bangladeshi players do you know of that are playing? We've just mentioned 3 clubs. So these are the 3 biggest Bangladeshi-run football clubs here in the UK.
Yeah.
How many Bangladeshi players are playing in these clubs?
So Sporting, obviously we mentioned before, in Galacticos, we've got probably a couple there. And then London Tigers, I'll be honest, I don't think there is, unless you can tell me different. So that just goes to show that,
And we're talking about London Tigers and Sporting is inner city London,
yeah,
west and east. You've got MK Galacticos, who are based in Bedfordshire, in and around. So you've got Luton. You've got densely populated Asian areas where they could quite easily get across to MK Galactico. So what's stopping our kids from going and getting involved? What do you think? What is it?
There's a few things, yeah, and I'm probably be a little bit controversial if I do say this, yeah. But I think it's the mindset, with our Asian players and especially Bangladeshi players, yeah. It's the mindset, They don't want to put the hard graft in. They don't want to sit on the bench sometimes, yeah. They don't want to take criticism or constructive criticism. Sometimes they think they know it. They know it all. So there is that kind of mindset on certain players, and the ones that don't have that mindset are actually playing. Yeah, are actually playing. They're the ones that understand it. So we've experienced, a whole host of players that have come through Sporting, yeah. And I mentioned about resilience. That is the part that's missing. So when there is adversity somewhere, it's a case of, look, I'm going to roll my sleeves up, and I'm going to show you as a coach or as a manager, or I'll prove to you that it's not like this. Or, no, listen, I want to push myself to the next level. So I'm going to keep attending, I'm going to keep working. And that's the bit that's missing, I think. It's more the mindset rather than the talent, because the talent's certainly there.
Okay. Right, guys, so we're out of time for the first segment. When we come back, we will continue our discussion with Arash, and we want to know more about his future plans. And also, we've been talking about Bangladeshi footballers. I want to learn about his experiences on his visit 2 years ago with the MK Galacticos to do some coaching out there and share his knowledges with the guys in Sylhet that are trying to change the Bangladesh football system over there. So let's have a short break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussions with Arash. Welcome back to the Game Changer. So we've had Arash Ali on the show now, and second segment of the show, we want to learn more about him. We want to learn more about what his thoughts are on the game. We've talked about players. Let's move on to what he loves, what his passion is. We want to know about the issues you've faced or you feel Asian coaches experience on their journey to getting to where they need to be. So I guess the platform is yours in terms of what are the biggest issues, if any? And in terms of, we talk about racism in sports and football in particular. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Yes, I think issues, I personally face as a coach, quite limited, to be fair. So in terms of racism at MK, I didn't really face anything. I think the challenge I had, and as Bangladeshis and as Muslims, you have, is the social aspect of, trying to work within an environment, so what I mean by that is obviously when they go invite you out, you're going to go to pubs or etc. So they're the challenge you have, but you got to manage them. I mean, obviously I didn't really attend it, but I think I think my personality probably allowed me to get away.
I think they call that integrating, right?
Yeah.
So I think, that's a massive, massive point you make around. I think this is where, it's particularly as Muslims, because we talk about the lack of Asians in football, we talk about the lack of players in football, but particularly with the Asians, what people fail to realize, and this is a conversation I have with a lot of people when I'm asked that question about the lack of Asians, this cultural difference within our own Muslim community, Sikh community, Hindu community, Sri Lankan community, then there's so many different kind of channels and issues that we all have. And this is the lack of, it's more of probably an educational piece, but for as a Muslim player or as a Muslim coach, it's difficult. And I think this is something that I guess needs to be addressed.
Definitely.
And it's something until, this is a conversation I've been having with individuals and networks up and down the UK, is until we get to the bottom of this in terms of this integration piece, that because a Muslim doesn't drink, it can't be seen as a negative. That can't be a reason as to why he or she should not be given that opportunity. Because he or she is fasting, that shouldn't be another reason. But these are cultural barriers we face. Exactly. And I think in 2020, that's the hurdles we are having to overcome right now, right? So are you saying that has that changed at all from where you were to now?
I think it has changed. I think the education side of things, as you say, there's a lot more kind of exposure to it now, yes, but through social media, etc. So and also with the clubs, they are more aligned to understanding, because they might have a Muslim player within the academy, within their ranks. So they've got to try and accommodate that. So there is a level of things, but the challenge I've faced, I mean, I had to deal with it differently. So things like, I had to win my kind of spurs, if you like, with the lads, that in terms of bantering, in terms of from a coaching perspective, So if you have that, then there's allowances, So you can say, look, I can't make it, I won't be attending. So that's okay. But I don't feel it hindered me.
That's good to know.
But in terms of current issues, so if you're talking about pathways for coaches, the pathways are there in abundance. So we spoke about the 3 clubs, etc. So that's a pathway for many aspiring coaches. And it's not just those clubs. There's many clubs out there, that they can try and attend.
Because there's a lot of community clubs now as well. So the professional clubs are doing a lot of community foundations.
Exactly.
So is that a pathway in for kids and aspiring coaches?
Definitely. So which is going to be one of my next points, because one of the things that we have, I think, in the FA, there's an FA inclusion manager, Butch Faisal, and I think he's very supportive, and I know. He's very supportive of likes of myself and Manraj Singh, who's I think we'll talk about in a bit, who's the manager of Punjab FA, of trying to give opportunities and trying to support them in progressing in the coaching role. So with the FA now, you've got the pathway. So level 1, level 2, level 3 UEFA B, level 4 which is UEFA A, and then the pro license, and then you've got the youth module. So it's really up to the individual coaches to really go and grab them and say, look, I want to attend these courses, or go and get some support to attend those courses. And they're available for everyone. And the last one I want to make on that is, I know recently Butch has released, and FA has released opportunities, So it's like a volunteer program, internship in pro clubs. So you as a BME individual can apply to go and work within a range of clubs that they got on their list in their academy. So similar to what I did, all those years ago, that's now become a process. Whereas before I had to do it myself.
Okay. So in terms of racism, you're fortunate that you've never experienced anything like that. But we talk about opportunities for not just in the Bangladeshi arena and the circuit up and down the UK, but you've moved it up. You've gone in. You've kind of branched out, and I'm sure for those that aren't aware, tell us a bit about Punjab FA, because you're actually involved in Punjab FA, which is a massive. It's seen as a bit of an international team. And you're the assistant manager there. How did that happen?
So with the Punjab FA, as you mentioned, it's a kind of a national team, and they're part of what's known as CONIFA. And what CONIFA is basically regions or smaller countries, yeah, that are not affiliated to FIFA.
Okay.
And CONIFA was born, I think, back in 2014, and they had a couple of World Cups since then. And one of the World Cups was in the UK a few years ago. So it has a kind of a subscription of about 100 kind of member countries or member states, and Punjab being one of them.
Okay.
So how that happened is basically I've been following them, to be honest, behind the scenes, because it was quite intriguing to see that. But one of the coaches that were there, he then became their manager, Manraj Singh.
Okay.
And I've worked with Manraj, back in the days with MK Dons.
Right.
So I know him quite well, and we've got similar kind of philosophies and ideas, and he's the one that approached me to go and work with him with Punjab FA.
Okay. And how is that role evolving, and where are you at with it right now?
Yeah, I mean it's been really good, really kind of interesting journey. We play. One of the good things about it is we play in kind of professional clubs. So when we have games or when we have...
So you've played Liverpool under-23s, for example, right?
So
That's a
there was
massive
games against Liverpool under-3. We had a game against Barry Town, which is, they play in the Prem in North Wales. They also play in the Europa League. So, so the teams that you're playing against is very high standard.
So what about the actual players that play for Punjab FA? Do they have to be Punjabi or from the region, and what's the ability like?
Yeah, so you've got various levels of ability. So so firstly, they have to be from the Punjab region or the Pakistan region, in order to play. So that's the eligibility factor. With regards to the players and the standards, we've got various levels. So, we had the Pakistani national team keeper.
Wow.
So better player for us. We had a player who plays in the Danish Premier League.
Wow.
And then we've got various players in the UK who play, I think, Step 2, Step 3 level players. So, we've got a whole mixture. And then we've got, like, for example, our own team, GURPS, who's been involved with the setup as well. So, I mean, various levels, but very, very high standard.
Excellent. Okay, so for those that would like to learn about Punjab FA, hopefully in a later show we will be bringing on the chairman, Harpreet Singh, from the Punjab FA, and he can give us a bit more of an understanding of what the CONIFA tournament is all about. And trust me, it's nothing to be snitched at. They've done really well. I think they got to the final one time. They got to the semi-final previously as well. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Arash, but I think Punjab FA are looking to actually travel to Bangladesh and actually play friendlies against professional teams, and also with the view to play the national team. So I think they're in dialogue. I think there's something that's looking to happen in the background. So we'll get Harpreet Singh on, the chairman and the founder of Punjab FA, hopefully in the near future, where we can get a bit more insight as to how that started and what it's all about. So let's move on. I want to bring it back to what it's here all about in terms of our own home nations and Bangladesh in particular. And you flew out in 2018 with the MK Galactico guys to do some work over there. Yeah. Tell us about that experience and what you thought of it, and where Bangladesh is in terms of its footballing ability and the infrastructure, and maybe what needs to happen to progress.
Okay, yeah, so if I tackle the first question then, when I went to Bangladesh in 2018, it was a mixture of, personal, because I hadn't been back for quite a number of years, and then I think MK Galactico, so, Alom, saw the opportunity of me going out there to go and support some coaching sessions and support some development work at his club in Bangladesh. So the journey was really interesting. From my experience, one of the things I did there was I went to about 4 or 5 different coaching sessions which I delivered, and what was so pleasing about it was the passion that they had for football. It was just phenomenal. I mean, you had passion was such as one of the training sessions. It was supposed to be an under-20 training session, and there's a guy didn't look under 20 at all. So I said to him, like, how old are you? He was like, he didn't know his age, but someone else said he's about 50.
Wow.
So, but he said, look, and he called me sir, know. And, that just goes to show the level of passion they had. But, the experience I had was actually football is massive in Bangladesh, and we don't realise or recognise that, and we're starting to see it now with a lot more social media that's going on. One of the journeys that I took to one of my uncle's village, within a 3 mile, basically I was in a lightus, as they call it, within a 3 mile journey, I must have seen about 6 games
Wow.
either side going on within a 3 mile journey. So, that just goes to show the level of participation there is there. And the villa I stayed in, guaranteed every single day, I just basically about 2 fields away, there was a game going on. And I used to go right up to the top and kind of watch it. And it took me back to my days, jumpers for goalposts, just lads playing. And even they played in the rain as well, sliding everywhere. So what that was telling me is like, look, in Bangladesh, there is a definite passion, there's a definite need, there's definite participation levels, Now tackling the thing about where I see Bangladesh is, I think it's a developing nation in terms of football. There are a lot of opportunities there, both from coaching perspective, both from playing perspective as well, individual players. But I think one thing that's missing from what I see is that infrastructure, and that infrastructure has got to come from the support from the government level. We have BFF, Bangladesh Football Federation, who are supported by FIFA, but I don't think they're doing enough, let's say, because I think the hunger and the demand that's there, I don't think is met by the supply that the BFF are currently providing. Okay. Although they have had some initiatives via FIFA to do that. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be government support to develop the infrastructure, building facilities, even stadiums as well, and then also to put in a kind of a development structure in place. Something that I came across about 7-8 years ago. I saw a document both from the FA and also Hong Kong, how they envisioned football to be, especially in China and in Japan. And look at where they are. And in that blueprint, it was about all the stakeholders from the government level to grassroots level coming as one, and developing football from a funding, from a support, from a resource perspective, and that's what Bangladesh needs.
Okay, Bangladesh also need qualified coaches. So, from your own perspective, is that an ambition for you to go and work out in Bangladesh full time as a football coach?
Yeah, inshallah. I mean, obviously we spoke about it as well. I've had a few opportunities come up, but as you know, with the young family that I've got to make the right decisions. And it came about over a year ago, and at the time it wasn't right for me. But definitely the ambition is there because it's my it's my mother country, and I'd love to be a part of it to try and develop football to a level where it's recognised internationally.
Good stuff. Well, that's good to know. And I think from my with that in mind, I think let's touch on I guess your family, and let's touch about your experiences and again your personal life versus your football life, because like I said, I see you on practically a day-to-day basis. I speak to you regularly. The commitment you show in terms of having to travel from Milton Keynes to London 3-4 times a week to do what you do, to coach the guys, to be involved at Sporting Bengal Football Club. How long can this carry on? And secondly, what's the reaction at home? How do you manage it? Share that with us.
Well, because I get a call. How do I manage it? I think it's. I think first thing is because of my passion, with football. I think we need to add golf to that now, as well. But because of my passion with football, I think that's what drives me to do the insanity, if you some see it. So that's the first thing. I think with my family perspective,
how many kids have you got?
So I've got 3 daughters and 1 little boy.
So let's name them. Who's the eldest?
So my eldest is Samira, she's 12.
Yeah.
My second is Alicia, she's 8. Yeah. And then my third is Aisha, she's 6.
And then we've got the young little rascal now, haven't we?
So the little Messi, hopefully, inshallah. So he'll be one. He's Uthman, he'll be one in a couple of weeks' time, actually.
Excellent.
So I mean that's flown by. So so as you can see, having to juggle quite a bit. I'm now having to answer to 4 women in the house.
Oh wow!
No one. So, I mean, they understand it, they get it. So,
But
you
you've
know,
got a
then-
good family network
Yeah.
in Milton Keynes as
Correct.
well. That really allows you to do what you do, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, I've got my brothers, my mum and that close by, so they're not, they're never alone. Let's say, yeah. And if anything that's needed, then
Because
they
again,
support.
we talk about players, but as coaches as well, just as much time and dedication is required. So that element of infrastructure and the support network is important,
Correct. Yeah.
even as you get older, right? So
Yes.
the element of support and the network never changes, does it?
No, it doesn't. That's right. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I do get the nagging, and we need to do this, and all the family stuff or the father stuff, and
Yeah.
that we need to do. So, but it's about, for me, it's about prioritizing and balancing and juggling, yeah, and managing that, and that's kind of what I tend to do. So that's how I get away with it at the moment. But how long I can get away with it, we'll see.
Okay. So now, I guess away from the family, we've talked about your experience and how you got into coaching. We've talked about players. We've talked about Punjab FA. But let's talk about it. I guess we should really touch on it. The lack of Asians and the lack of Bangladeshis in particular in the game, whether it be playing, whether it be backroom staff, whether it be coaching, whether it be admin, wherever it is. How do we address this problem? What are the solutions?
So listen, I think I kind of alluded to earlier. It's a mindset thing, yeah, and I think the problem has quadrupled, yeah, in the sense that in today's society there's a lot more distractions. Back in our days, and you see that in the vets, the basic preparation of the vets games, yeah. Back in our days, that's all we had, football. Yeah, and we used to play that day in, day out, week in, week out. Nowadays, there's a lot more things to do, yeah, for kids, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's, social media stuff, and, some other sports, etc., and other things. So, so that plays a big part in participation, yeah? Because the first thing is participation in football. But having said that, the opportunities are there. So we've already touched upon that, yeah? What is needed now, in order for people to push, is that mindset. And what I mean by that mindset is, and I've seen it many times, summertime, we all come out. It's like vampires, yeah? Sometimes we all come out, we're playing. But as soon as winter hits, we don't, it's like we're making excuses, not today, it's raining, etc. In order to make it to the elite level, come rain or shine, come hail or snow, yeah, you have to be committed, yeah. You have to be committed. You have to work at it. You have to practice it, yeah. And the key thing and the key message I'll say is, take the opportunities that you have to the players out there, yeah. You've got ample opportunities. Take the opportunities, grasp it, yeah. And with that, the rest will follow. So the key message is, get that mindset right. Without that mindset, you ain't gonna progress.
Okay, so away from individuals, as communities up and down the UK, as organizations, as people who are leaders of communities within our own sports organizations, are we doing something wrong, or are we doing more right? What needs to change for us to now step our game? Because other communities are leaving us behind. We talked about Punjab FA. They came from nowhere, and now look where they are.
Yeah.
We've got when we have clubs like we have. We've mentioned in Sporting Bengal, MK Glatu relatively doing some amazing work over there, London Tigers, etc. But what about the Bangladeshi community? What do we need? Why are we being left behind? Why are we not seeing the numbers? So is there an element that organizations and communities should be and could be doing more?
I think the key word there is unity, yeah, for me, because we seem to work in silos and isolation. From my experience, that's now having been in the London scene for 4 or 5 years, yeah, that is glaringly obvious. Is basically we're working in silos. We need to work as a unified body.
Okay.
Body meaning the Bangladeshi community, yeah.
Okay, how does that happen? In your opinion, as an outsider looking in,
Yeah.
how does that happen? How do you galvanize these bodies?
So from my perspective, yeah, I think the senior decision makers, yeah, so the decision makers within the community, they have to get together. They have to, be open-minded and go and speak to the different organisations and try and leverage and try and get the best practice, yeah. And also, I think one thing, for example, with sporting, which I couldn't understand, to be honest, yeah, and if I may be frank about it, you've got a club in your doorstep. And playing at the highest level that an Asian club can play, but the support is not there. And I always ask the question, why? What are the reasons behind it? Yeah. So
in the heart of the Bangladeshi community, the biggest Bangladeshi
yeah.
community here in the UK, in London, in Tower Hamlets,
Correct.
and we have a game, you're playing an FA Cup game,
yes,
and we can't get 50 people to a game.
Exactly. So, and the questions needs to be asked. What are the key reasons? And listen. Within the Bangladeshi community, we know, yeah, is we have sort of prejudices. We have, if I may use the word jealousy, those type of things that go on, which shouldn't be there, but it happens. It happens. I remember one time my brother was saying to me that in the Bangladeshi community, yeah, when there's a takeaway open up in one street, yeah. Then there's another takeaway that gets opened up next door. Yeah, so it's kind of the way I say it, this is my personal opinion. Same in football. Yeah, so rather than supporting the established clubs, yeah, someone decides, okay, I want power, or I want this, or I want that, so they set up in competition. Yeah, and what they don't realise is they're diluting rather than strengthening. Yeah, so for me the key message is, look, the organisations that are out there. The decision makers are out there, brothers. You need to unify. Yeah, you need to sit down. You need to discuss. If there's any grievances, if there's any issues around it, get it sorted out with a face-to-face discussion, and then let's look to try and move the community forward, because we have the knowledge. Yeah, we have the manpower, person power is a word. We have the skills. Yeah, all we now is that unity to try and move it forward.
Okay. I think that's a good place to finish in terms of a positive message, because I think there's room for optimism, right? I think you have a number of clubs up and down the UK. Everybody's striving to do and get to the same place, but it's let's all work together is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, correct. And that's what you see in the Sikh community, in other communities. Yeah, is that support is unified rather than kind of in isolation.
Okay, good stuff. And one final question to you before we have you going away. So, we're going to have viewers from Bangladesh, and I, like you, get numerous messages on social media asking, would you come to Bangladesh? Would you consider the opportunity to be involved at X, Y, and Z club? So, there's a camera. If there is a club out there over in Bangladesh that is looking for a UEFA B, a good coach with experience of non-league football, someone who's involved at a very good international side, if you like, with Punjab FA.
Yeah.
If someone came knocking, what would it take for you to consider packing your bags and going to work in Bangladesh?
Very tough question. What would it take? So yeah, listen. If the right opportunity came about, and what I mean by the right opportunity is, firstly, the security of the position, because we know what Bangladesh is like sometimes. Yeah, so there has to be that security of that position, especially with a young family. If I was single, I would take those risks. So that's the first thing. But I think one of the main things is that challenge of the role, yeah. So the role ideally would be a kind of a coaching role in a first team level in a pro club, or the opportunity to try and develop kind of an academy there.
Wow. Yeah.
So basically, I've had experience of this with MK Dons, so I know what's required, and the idea, the opportunity to try and allow me to implement, give me a blank canvas, allow me to implement the vision that I have in terms of football, and you know the philosophy that I have, yeah. And I think with my experience in Bangladesh and when I delivered some of the sessions, yeah, they absolutely loved it. Even now, you know, I get messages. Even like a couple of weeks ago, I got a message saying, "When you're coming back to Bangladesh?" Because you know we thoroughly enjoyed your coaching. Because one of the things that I see in Bangladesh is the coaching is good. Don't get me wrong. You know the stuff that they do, but I think it needs to be a lot more game based and ball based, and that's something that us as coaches from the UK can provide that knowledge and that skill set in Bangladesh. So if the right opportunity comes about in terms of first team level or kind of an academy level, then I'd definitely be interested to hear about it.
Love it. Okay, Arash, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been insightful. I hope the viewers enjoyed it. As I said, this is just a snapshot, and you heard it here first. We're going to have viewers from Bangladesh. Look, guys, if you guys are serious about developing your game over in Bangladesh, bringing in the best coaches, the Bangladeshi coaches from here in the UK to go and work in Bangladesh, he needs security. He needs a massive opportunity. So it's got to be a pro club. It's got to be an academy that's looking to progress, who's going to give him a free rein to implement his ideas and his philosophies. And that's what he wants. So you heard it here. Arash, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's been
Much
really,
pleasure.
really good. I've really enjoyed it. Guys, we're out of time. As ever, the Game Changer continues. And next time, we will have more guests, more insight as to what's going on up and down the UK. And hopefully, we'll be sharing these stories along the way. Until next time, I've been Imran Ghazi. Assalamu alaikum.